journey from just being me, and you're listening to the Learning to Love Yourself podcast, the show that inspires you to put yourself first.
Learning to love yourself on the path to happiness. Learning to love yourself on the path to happiness.
Before we dive into today's episode, I've got something really powerful for you. If you've ever found yourself stuck in self-doubt, constantly second-guessing your decisions, or feeling like you just can't trust yourself, you're not alone. But the good thing is, it doesn't have to stay that way. I've created something to help you take that very first step, because that's the hardest one. It's called the Self-Belief Checklist, and it's a free tool to help you spot exactly where you're getting stuck and where you can start shifting things today. So look down in the show notes and get your free copy now. Welcome back to our podcast. It's so good to have you all with us today. And today we are with the amazing Jo Cooper, who I've been really lucky to actually meet in person, because very often I guess I don't. So Jo and I have spent a little bit of time together, which is really, really nice in person to see somebody 3D.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jo is here today to talk to us about her journey.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jo.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Tell us a little bit about the background.
Yeah, so I'm a marketeer. Like, that's what my background is. I run a marketing agency. Love working in tourism, like working tourism mainly, but very much about emotion-led marketing. And so I have an agency, and it got to a point. I'd relocated from one end of the country to the other for a boy, and I say a boy. I got married and I moved, and I'd moved away from all of my network, my family. My daughter was only 2 weeks old when I moved. Relocated because I got married, moved, and we had a good couple of years together, and then my relationship broke down, the marriage broke down, and it was at that point that it was the something needs to give. It's not going to be me. That's kind of where the whole journey had started then, with the development. And I made some wrong choices at that point, but it was that point of that relationship breakdown, being far away from everybody that was my network, my mum, my dad, my sister, everybody, and being a solo single parent, left running a business, trying to build a business, and knowing, shit, what do I do? What comes first? Obviously my daughter and I come first, but I'm the only one now making the money, and it was just that kind of snowball from there.
So you talk a lot about the fact that actually it's not going to be me that shifts, and my daughter and I come first. So were you very clear on your self-worth, on your self-love at that moment in time?
No, not at all. And actually, when the marriage was starting to break down, I thought that if I was to fix the business, because we were having, again, I'd moved away, and I'd left a team behind, and I was on maternity leave, so the business had taken a bit of a dip, and as it does, you would expect when the main person steps away for a little while, and there was a lot of blame put towards the business, and when
from you or from both?
No, not from me at all. But so there was a lot of blame, that a lot of the things that were happening was a result of the business, the fact that I wasn't earning enough money, the fact that I was stressed all the time, and all of this. And I naively thought, well, if I go and sort my business out, if I go and get a business coach and helps me sort all of this out, then I'll save my marriage. And on the same day, I went and saw a business coach, and I saw a life coach as well. And I didn't really know anything about life coaching, certainly nothing about like NLP or anything like that. And I saw
for those that don't know, sorry, Jo, for those that don't know, NLP is Neuro-Linguistic programming, which both you and I are trained in.
And it's really interesting, like, sitting, remembering that time of sitting with those two coaches, and then the little questions and the things that we now know, like, part of the NLP process, and coaching and what we do. But I sat there with, two people. I saw one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and I thought, well, I need to save my business because my business will, that will make it all better. So I went with a business coach. I signed up to a program, which was good, and I learned a lot, but it was the wrong thing because it was my self-worth, it was my confidence that was absolutely on the floor, and I should have started with me. I get goosebumps thinking about it. I should have started with me and gone, where's my, like, where am I in this? How do I build up my self-worth? I'm not to blame. It's not my fault. And kind of all of those tools that we know that will have then got me through the next 5-6 years, because actually there was then just a lot of guilt that came out of it because it didn't save my marriage, and that ended, and divorce and everything. So it took probably about 4 years to then meet our NLP coach Viv, and then go, "Oh, that's where I went wrong.
Yeah,
that's where I went wrong." So
and that's a really big aha moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because as a lot of people know, but I spent the last 30 years trying to sort myself out and thinking I'm getting there, I'm working on things, and actually that recognition 4 years ago of there is no blame in any of this, because it's just not worth that blame. That's just an energy I just don't need to go to anymore. And what I need to do is just sit with me and look at me. And then, a couple of years later, taking on board NLP and realizing, okay, and now we can shift this, and now we can do that. It's real aha moments, isn't it? It's real moments of realizing where you can take your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big stories that I'd always carried, and this came from sort of childhood of my, my dad leaving my mum when I was younger, and then relationships breaking down, and being cheated on, and then like with my marriage breaking down, I carried the story of everyone abandons me and everybody leaves me. And I'd carried that, and I thought, well, that's what happens. And even with people through work in my agency, when team members have left, it kind of just reinforced that, well, everyone abandons me, everybody leaves me. But doing the work and going sort of through the mindset shifts and looking at where those stories and beliefs come from, it actually came from a time when I was around 8 years old. My uncle passed away unexpectedly, and he was very present in my life, and probably more so at that time that my dad was. And it was the same sort of time that my mum and dad split up. So it wasn't a case that everybody abandoned me, but I didn't. At 8 years old, you don't know how to deal with grief. I didn't. My parents didn't know how to help me through that. So it was just a case of, well, Uncle David's not around anymore. But that's where my abandonment part came in. It's like, he never abandoned me. I've never been abandoned. People have just moved on. He couldn't help it. It wasn't his choice to go.
And marriages do break up.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about the stories that we tell ourselves. That's the first chapter in my book, and that's the first part of my program. What are the stories that you tell yourself? Because we do, as children, we pick up these stories and we continue to make them true all the way through to our adult life, don't we?
Yeah. And so when I realized that it was, okay, well, yeah, I wasn't abandoned then. That was just a really difficult and sad time for us all. Mum and dad had split up. And so then it's like, well, actually, that bit isn't true. And then that bit isn't true. And it literally just unraveled. And I sat there and I thought, I have been loved my whole life. There's just been situations that no one's been able to help. And like you say, marriages break down. And it's always the time and the right time. And, I know now, whilst at the time it was difficult going through the breakup and my marriage breakdown, but, it was the right thing to have happened.
Absolutely. Coming from somebody that went through the whole of her parents' marriage, where they really should have split up because they didn't like each other very much and they didn't work very well together. So we live with all of that tumultuous going on, you know, that actually sometimes it's the right thing to do. Sometimes it's the right thing for everybody to do. And it's sad, but if we handle the grief and we handle all the emotions that go around that, especially for the child, but us as adults as well, then it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, it is a grief, and it is the grieving process. And I think it's not necessarily the grieving of the relationship or the person, it's the life that you thought that you were going to have. And you know, that was very much a big part of then the self-worth part. It's like, well, am I not, you know, I don't have that anymore, I'm not going to have that anymore, am I not worth that anymore, why aren't I worth that anymore? But then you start the sort of the, you know, whose validation is it that you need for that? You know, actually I can have all of that myself. Just me and my daughter. Like it doesn't change anything, we can still do all of those things. So yeah.
And did that moment bring to you then that actually you are responsible for everything that happens to you? It's your responsibility, nobody else's. Because one of the things for me was, you know, why don't other people make me happy? You know, nobody's making me happy. Why? And actually it's not anybody's responsibility to make me happy other than myself.
Yeah.
And it's not possible for other people to make me happy unless I'm already in the basis of happiness, because nobody knows who I am inside other than me.
No.
They get the external, they don't get the internal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was different slightly for me to be so far away from my family, because, you know, when that broke down, the question was, were you coming home, are you coming back? And I said, well, no, I actually quite like it. So all my family are down in Hampshire, you know, I'm up on the Wirral in Cheshire, so I'm 4 hours away from them all. And it was like, are you coming home? And I said no. And I think if I had done, I would be such a different person. I don't think I would have done half the journeying of myself if I had gone back, because it would have been easier to rely on the other people to make you happy, you know, to make me happy, and to lean on those, where I had to really lean into being on my own, finding the tools to keep myself going every day, and actually learn to be able to say, no, I don't want to do that. I can say no.
And isn't that hard? I was having the conversation with somebody the other day about, you know, saying no, and how saying no to other people is just so hard, but saying no to yourself is so easy.
Yeah. Very true.
Saying yes to yourself is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And obviously that was a moment for you where you were saying, yes, actually, I need me. So instead of going home to mum and dad, I need to do me here.
Yeah. And it's permission, isn't it? It's given us permission to say, yes, you can do this by yourself. You can do this. You can be selfish. You can say yes and you can say no. So yeah, big element of giving myself permission.
Did you understand that that's what you needed to do, was give yourself permission? Or did it come from somebody else allowing you and giving you and saying, look, I'll give you my permission? So leading you on to the way of being, because I find that's often what people need is, you know, somebody to say, do you know, it's okay to do that, before they can learn to say that for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's too big a leap to going to not believing you can do anything to going to all by yourself.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need that process to go through, don't you?
Yeah. And having somebody ask and say, well, you know, is it okay for you to give yourself permission? And when you know, it's those questions, isn't it, which, you know, part of the coaching, well, it's, you know, it's the power of those questions, and that you ask and then you go, oh yeah, I could I could just do that. And then that thought kind of continues, doesn't it? And then,
but I think it's also the power of the type of coaching that you and I do, is the fact that we very much respect that you have the answer. I don't. As a coach, I don't have your answer. I can look at you and I can see a whole load of answers, but the one that's right for you is inside of you.
Yeah. And this is where you know, if I'd made that decision to see the life coach on the day instead of the business coach, who knows, I may have gone back home. I don't know, you know, back south. I don't know, but that would have been you know, different questions that I'd been asked, and then I would have found in myself, I think, going forward.
And I think, you know, obviously you and I being coaches are firm believer in having a coach in your life. And you know, I coach clients, as I'm sure you do, whereby you're coaching clients in their moment of realization of something's got to change, or in a moment of grief, or in a moment of extreme, but actually they stay on because of the realization that on a regular basis it's really good to talk something out, because we as humans need to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
And that doesn't often happen, because as an instinct we always want to talk about ourselves rather than listen to somebody else.
Yeah, and a big sort of, you know, the element of the coaching that I do is exactly that, being seen, heard, and held, because I know that that's what I didn't have. Again, being on my own, being the solo parent, I didn't know how to speak up. I wasn't being seen and heard, and a lot of it, that as well, comes from childhood, of the, you know, kids are there to be seen and not heard.
and you know, so how many of us were brought up that way?
Yeah.
You know, because actually the more you look at the way that we are standardized, brought up in this country, the more we realize that actually we don't know how to handle our emotions, because emotions get squashed down as a child.
Yeah.
So then as an adult, we get all these emotions coming. Well, as a child, it's all over the place, but you know, it's kind of accepted for it as a child. But as an adult, we don't know how to deal with all of the emotions, do we?
No. And I certainly didn't know how to do emotions when I was younger. I cried a lot, and you know, I release them. I cry a lot now as an adult, which you know, I know is a gift in itself, because some people can't do that. And you know, I have been able to release that emotion, but it's, again, it comes back to that permission of being given the space, I guess, and to be able to cry, or to be able to just let those emotions go when you're going through, you know, things like relationship breakdowns and all of that, to and also permission as well to be able to say, you know, have that moment of, well, why me, and just let that out, because again, if we store that in,
Negative or positive, if we store them in,
yeah,
it causes problems, doesn't it? We need to allow things to release.
yeah. When I had, so it was about a year ago actually, as I was going through like the divorce process, I was actually on a photo shoot, and I was having some emails with the ex, and I was so angry, and I don't do anger very much as an adult. I find that quite hard. I'll cry instead. But I took myself to the beach and I screamed, and I just spent then the journey back just screaming and shouting, and it felt so good. And it's like, well, just let it out, like just get that emotion out, because otherwise it stores, doesn't it? So
and the clue's in the name, because it's emotion.
yeah.
So that, you know, our emotions need to be moving, because if we store them, that's what causes us all of the problems in the long term. It might be okay in that moment, and sometimes, you know, having been in places where it's not been safe for me to show my emotions, sometimes you have to do it, but it's finding a way to let that out, which is the beauty of coaching. It's the beauty of having somebody that you can go and say anything you like to, and there's no blame or judgment, and you can work that through to see whether or not it's true or not.
Yeah.
We go back to the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Is it true? Is it true now? Was it true then? All of those. Yeah.
So where are you now in your journey? Because you've mentioned that you've got a marketing business and you've got a coaching business.
Yeah. So when I then I was having NLP coaching and sort of started, you know, that element of, yes, it starts with me. Seeing the transformation that I was going through, and that others, you know, on the program was having, I thought, this is amazing. Like, I want to be able to do this and help people do the same. And within my agency, you know, so we work with a lot with tourism attractions and visitor attractions, and I go to a lot of meetings and conferences and big things. And I spotted that people, especially younger, like generation, you know, who may have, you know, a few years out of university, first kind of job in marketing, just didn't have the confidence to say anything. You know, meetings, you know, it's very much that sharing ideas, and no one would say anything. And I thought, well, why? Is it because they've got a lack of confidence, self-worth? They don't feel that their point is valid enough. So how do I do this? So that's when I thought, well, I'm going to become an NLP coach, and I will help them, and that I will help them do this, and I will be a marketing coach, and that's what I will use my coaching for. But as I went through the process and the journey of myself, I thought, actually, there's a bigger purpose of why I want to do that, and that is helping who I was 7 years ago, who, the single mum, struggling, self-worth on the floor, lack of confidence, and not really wanting to be here. That's who I want to be helping. So that's where then the coaching kind of took that slightly different. I mean, I still do, marketing coaching and mentoring, and I still will be helping those younger marketers to find their voice and be authentic when showing up. But actually, it's helping those people, they're single mums, solo parenting. When I say sort of solo parenting, I know sometimes it's not necessarily, you can still be in a relationship and be solo parenting. Having those, that if I can stop that decision of that person making the decision to go and fix their business, the outside bit, rather than starting with them. So that's where then the Joe Cooper coaching came, and my sort of programs and help around the solo parents and juggling everything that motherhood
brings to it, because a lot of the time that's where we start losing ourselves. In motherhood, because we have to put the child first. That first night with the baby when they're screaming and they need feeding, you have to get up and you have to go and do that, because otherwise your baby dies. There's a whole process that starts that taking away, and it's understanding that it's still okay to be you. And I think that's where we see a lot of when the empty nest syndrome is, because you have no idea who you are. I know for myself, when my children left home, I was like, wow, okay, who am I then? And that was another process to go, well, we haven't dealt with this one then, have we? Because you don't know who you are. And that's the beauty with the space. I don't know if you agree, Joe, but the beauty of the space that I sit in now is that when I find something, because we still do, it's a journey, this never stops, life changes, things come up. When I find something that's, I need to deal with that, it's almost kind of exciting, even though it's a negative, if you like. It's kind of, I can remove that. How am I going to deal with that? Where is that going to go? And I might take it to my coach, or I look at it within myself. It's knowing that we can grow and evolve now is massive. At the beginning of motherhood, that certainly wasn't.
No, not at all. And I think when so about a similar time when I started with my NLP coach, I also did I had a client who was a style coach as well, and I was helping her with some marketing, and she did all my colors and stuff. And part of it was looking at the clothes that I used to wear in my 20s and 30s, and I was always somebody that liked being a little bit out there, different, like nice bright tights with different coloured shoes, two different colour shoes, but clashing, always like a bit of a clash. And I thought, where's that Jo gone? Where did she go? And so through that was another element of going, okay, well, I can wear bold colours. I don't have to be mumsy. I can still have my style. I can still be me. So that was an element of that. But then giving myself again permission to be a little bit selfish with my time. And I've got friends now who say, God, they're in marriages, and they've got they get support, but they say, well, how do you manage, because it is just you, and you've got your businesses, and daughter who's 12. And I'm like, because I actually give myself the time. Like, I get up earlier so that I can just sit and have a coffee and say nothing and be in peace for half an hour, meditate or journal, read a book. But that's my little pocket of me.
And it's about allowing that, because the word selfish has a negative connotation, hasn't it? Whereas actually you need to give yourself time, because the more time that you give to you and fill your cup up means that what you give to other people is the overflow of that. And therefore you don't get run down.
No.
If you can keep your cup full at all points in time, which most days that just means a little bit, doesn't it? So your half an hour in the morning is enough to keep your cup full, because you're just topping up, you're not refilling it. But when you just keep giving the whole of your cup away, which so often happens, especially with women, it does happen also with men, but especially with women, it's just not working, because then you're not doing your children any good. You're not doing your employees or your employers or anybody that you're giving to any good, because you're not full.
No, no. And I did last summer, I did a summer of self-care. And it was mainly for me, because I know that I have these good little routines and habits in the mornings. When it comes to summer holidays, because our routine is different, it all goes out the window. And I thought, I really don't want to allow this to happen. So I need some element of accountability. So I just did a Facebook summer of self-care challenge, and it was a self-care thing, 5 minutes every day.
Yeah.
And I had people in the group who were doing it with me. Some were just watching for the ride type thing, but I wasn't doing it for them to help them. It was the discipline of me doing something every single day, and it did make a difference. Because one of the challenges that we had on one of the days was of saying no to something that somebody's asking you that day. Because like you say, as mums, we think we're superheroes to be not only doing everything, work, house, or it can then be something at the school that they need somebody to run the jumble sale or something like that. Or even, and again, this happened a lot in the summer holidays, of saying yes to a friend coming round to play. And it's, well, yes, that's great that my daughter has a friend round, but it's headspace that I don't have, and it's no one else I've got to find food for and occupy, and need to make sure they're okay all the time. I thought no, and so I started getting pictures to say no to some of those things, and that it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're selfish. It just gives you space to be you. Yeah.
And we are very guilty of just pushing on through, aren't we?
Yeah.
Just pushing on through. But actually acknowledging what your body and your mind is feeling, and just saying, actually, I need to say no right now because I need my body and my mind to feel better. And then I can say yes.
Yeah.
Or just, I don't want to do it, full stop.
And that's a really big skill, I think, that that we can all learn. And I'm trying to instill this within my daughter as well, for her to know that it's okay to say no, I don't want to do it. And we had this with netball at school, and I know that as a child I just said yes to everything because I thought that's what I had to do. I didn't I'd say be quiet, seen and not heard, and just did things. And I never there's a lot of things I never wanted to do, which as an adult I've carried some of that through. So trying to build that skill of knowing that you can say no if you don't want to.
And do you think that it's part of the problem is we feel we need to give an immediate answer?
Yeah.
And actually we're just in the boundaries section of my group program at the moment, and talking about the fact that it's okay to say, can I get back to you on that? Because it gives you that space then to sit there and go, how does that feel within my body? Because your body will always give you'll have a feeling about it. It's just that we don't take the time to notice it. And that just gives you some time to notice how you feel about it and then be real about it.
Yeah. And I think, like you're saying, sitting with that emotion and just really leaning into feeling what it is before kind of making the decision, and then keep asking why and what's the emotion. And I think as coaches, we're forever coaching ourselves. Sometimes I think, oh my God, to be switched off from my brain for a little while would be, I think, amazing, because there's always the questions that we're asking ourselves. And so if I'm feeling an emotion, I'll ask why, and then I'll keep going, well, why? Sometimes I just wish I could give myself a break from it. But yeah, it's being able to sit with that emotion, feel it, and then process it, isn't it? And say, well, and sometimes it's not even the emotion that we think that we're feeling. Absolutely.
And that's we think it's that emotion because that's what society says.
Yeah.
When we split up in a marriage, we should be angry. Well, actually, there's more chance that you're grieving.
Yes.
because you've lost something in your life, whether it's that person or the space or what life could have been, whatever it is, it's more likely that you're grieving, and we have these certain things, don't we? Certain emotions go with certain experiences.
Yeah.
And actually, very often it's not true. So being able to sit with that emotion and ask yourself, as you say, how come? What's going on there? Or is that really true?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm experiencing?
Yeah.
And just sitting and feeling that, and being that. And I hear people say to me, I don't have time for that. And I say, well, okay, well, whilst you're sat on the toilet, ask yourself the question,
Yeah.
because you're not doing anything else at that moment in time. Just you've got mind space to do that. Then give
Yeah.
yourself the time. Then it's finding those moments where you can think whilst you're washing up.
Yeah.
Taking away the doing, because we're so busy doing, aren't we? We just do. If taking away the doing to just be is too much for you, be in a moment where you don't have to really think about life. I do so much of my thinking when I'm driving on a motorway.
Same.
Because I can't do anything else other than drive on the motorway. And I'm fully knowing what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I'm understanding what I'm doing, but I get the chance to think. I just get a way to work, because I think up the best things on a motorway.
Yeah, same.
I just need to find a way to be able to get that written down somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, like, say, with the when I decided to do the business coaching, and I think, I can't remember where it comes from, but one of the big things that came out of that was the equation of be times do equals have, and we automatically go to all the things that we've got to do in order to have, but actually it's be bit. We've got to be the person. We've got to show up as being confident in order to have the confidence. We've got to, go there and think and sit with the emotion. So it's that, like you say, that being the person that does just find 5 minutes to stop and do nothing. And I did
beings, not doings.
Yeah.
Who's in the name?
Yeah, I did a survey when I was starting all of the coaching side with mums and single parents, just because I wanted to do a little bit of research around how much time women actually give themselves for their own self-care. And I was shocked at I say shocked, I wasn't really, but it was heartbreaking to see it on paper as most women couldn't find 5 minutes in their day for themselves to do something for them. And
that's really interesting, because for me, that's about most women don't find 5 minutes, because you have the choice. So it's not couldn't.
No, you
have the choice. You're just giving your power to other people by saying yes all the time to other things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so sort of part of then, like, the program and like the summer self-care, it was saying, well, actually 5 minutes is a relatively short amount of time. It's saying, although sometimes if you set a timer for 5 minutes, it feels like forever, doesn't it? But if we have 5 minutes, we have 20 minutes. It is just carving out that time and sticking to it and be disciplined. And I like habit stacking of when you go and do if I'm boiling the kettle, there is something that I can do within that as well. So just Absolutely. that habit stacking. So my mornings have just become an element, a series of habit stacking. But then I feel accomplished because I've done all of the things that I've previously I was going to bed and thinking, oh God, I've not read today, I've not done any meditation, and I would beat myself up. Then that
becomes should, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is not for you. This is should.
Yeah. I've not done it. I feel a failure. Oh, I feel stressed now. And I thought, well, if I just change it and do it in the morning. So I tried to do the whole miracle morning, but getting up at 5 was just a little bit too early. But I found that sweet spot, and I say I've just stacked things, and now they don't even feel like a habit. It's just part of what you do. It's just what I do. Yeah.
And mornings are perfect for that. I have a whole morning routine that includes 30 minutes of exercise, that includes 30 minutes of learning. It includes a whole load. Now I'm out the other side of children, so I don't have children in there, but it is what I did to make sure that I had those in my days was I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and my husband doesn't get up until 7:30. So it gives me time to wake up in myself.
Yeah.
The things that I want to do in the way that I want to do. Let's be clear, my husband would never ever stop me, but you're just bumping into another person in the household when I'm not quite ready for that yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can go off and I go and sit in the garage and I cycle for half an hour. You know, I can do that.
Yeah.
So but it's about actually saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And what that ended up doing for me was I go to bed earlier, because by 9 o'clock I'm nodding because I've been up since 6, and you know, I'm nodding. But what would I have been doing with that time from 9 anyway? You know, quite likely just staring at a screen.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to give that up to be able to do the things that I want to do for me in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all those little those little things. And I started getting up at like 6, half 6, so that I wouldn't see my daughter until sort of 6:30. And it's just that sometimes I'd just stare out the window with a coffee, but it was just my time, and that was all I needed then for the day. And then by the end, when I'm going to bed, I've done the things that I needed to do. So sleeping better, like you, 9 o'clock I'm done. I'm encouraging my daughter to get to bed so that I can go to bed. I'm done. But I'm not going to bed beating myself up, saying I've not achieved this, and this, and that. So,
but for me, I go to bed earlier and then I can read for a little bit. 9 times out of 10, you know, you wake up a little bit later and put the book back down on the side and turn the light off. It gives me an opportunity to do something that's not a screen.
Yeah. And that's another habit actually that I started doing. So this was only last year, and it was when we were training for NLP, one of the processes someone practiced on me, and as a result, I don't take my phone up to my bedroom anymore. I leave it downstairs, because I was getting into bed, scroll, and I was waking up tired. So now I thought, well, I could just leave it downstairs.
Yeah.
And so it's downstairs, and my alarm still goes off on my phone downstairs. So then I have to get up really quick so that it doesn't wake my daughter. So again, those two habits together, like one does the other, and I'm definitely down here by 6:30 because I'm racing down to turn it off. And I sleep better because I haven't got that. So it's all those little, I'm sort of encourage people to do. It's like, what are those little habits, those little things?
But don't take 2 minutes. Don't make a major difference to your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's been absolutely fabulous to chat to you, and we will put all the ways to get in contact with you. So if anybody wants to chat to you more, down below, either whether this is on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple, wherever it is, it'll all be down below in all the blurby bits below. Thank you so much, Jo.
Thank you, Jenny. Lovely to be here.
Thanks for listening today. If you'd like to know more, you can find all the links down below. Oh, and don't forget to press subscribe so you can catch the next one. See you soon.